Have you ever had that feeling where your AI coding agent is just spinning its wheels? You give it a task, the terminal just lights up with activity, but when the dust settles, are you actually any closer to a solution? Today, we're going to tackle that exact problem, what I call the wandering agent problem, and talk about how to stop it. Let's dive in. Man, this quote just hits the nail on the head, right? We've all seen this. There's this blur of activity, files are flying by in the terminal, and it feels like a ton of progress is being made. But is it real progress? Or is it all just an illusion? And that really brings us to our first big idea here, the illusion of progress. We really need to get sharp on the difference between an agent just being busy and an agent actually executing a task. So look, on one side you've got activity. That's the agent just churning through files, searching for keywords, looking super productive. And on the other side, you've got progress. That's about making targeted, meaningful changes in exactly the right places. One is basically noise, the other is the signal you're actually looking for. The bottom line is really simple. Exploration is not execution. And let's be real, every single minute an agent spends just wandering around your repository, that's a minute it's burning your time and your money without actually delivering any results.
So this gets us to the heart of the matter, the wandering agent problem. Let's dig into how exactly these agents manage to get so lost in the first place.
It's a totally fair question, isn't it? How can something this intelligent get so completely sidetracked? Well, it usually boils down to just a handful of pretty common pitfalls. Oh man, agents can get thrown off track so easily. It might just start chasing a variable name that looks similar into a totally unrelated module. Or maybe it gets stuck reading old, generated files that have nothing to do with the task. And if it doesn't have a clear starting point, well, it's basically just guessing. And that's exactly when the wandering begins. And look, the cost here, it's not just about wasted tokens. The real cost, the one that really hurts, is human. It's the time your team, or you, has to spend cleaning up the mess. And it's the hidden risk of some subtle, nasty bug getting introduced in a corner of the codebase you aren't even looking at. Okay, so if the problem is a bad start, then, well, the solution has to be a better start, right? Let's talk about how we can give these agents a real fighting chance right from the get-go. All right, the key idea here is something called a bounded context bundle. Seriously, think of it like a hyper-focused mission briefing for the AI. Instead of just pointing it at your entire massive repository and saying, good luck, you give it this small, prepackaged bundle of only the most relevant files and code snippets. It's the flight plan, all mapped out before the plane even leaves the hangar. And the difference is, wow, it's night and day. Up top, that's your typical naive agent, just bouncing all over the place, totally chaotic. But down below, with that bounded context, it's a straight line. It's laser-focused. It knows exactly where it needs to go from the very first step. And really, that's the fundamental difference we're talking about here. A generic keyword search, that just dumps a long list of results on you and hopes for the best. But an intelligent task context, that gives you a roadmap. One is a wild guess, the other is a concrete plan. So what does this all lead to? It's a pretty fundamental shift in how we need to think about this. We've got to start prioritizing actual, focused execution over just aimless exploration. Let's just be super clear, especially if you're managing a team or a budget. Wandering agents are just plain expensive. The cost in tokens, in developer time, and in potential risk, it's just way too high to ignore. So what's the big takeaway for managers? Well, providing a bounded context makes sure your agent starts in the right neighborhood, so to speak. This immediately cuts down on wasted tokens for sure, but maybe more importantly, it cuts down on those really painful, time-sucking code review cycles. You end up with a deterministic, evidence-backed process that leads to faster and much more reliable results from the get-go. I want to leave you with this one last thought, because I think it just wraps this all up perfectly. Success with AI agents in your codebase isn't about volume. It's not a numbers game of how many files can it possibly read. No way. It's a strategy game. It's all about getting it to read the right files right from the very beginning.